Yup. And then it just goes into that group. Like they gas their own thing up to where you're like, oh, like, when a song comes on in the club and you're like, oh shit. Yeah, exactly.
Let's open this
This is
pit
my
up.
jam, boy. This is like that, but you got a joint on your lip and you're like walking the French Quarter, right? You got the Hunter S. Thompson long cigarette thing and it's like broken and you got the hat and you're just, your physics are kind of messed up. I'm so glad we're recording this video so I can do stuff like this that people normally never get to see.
Not only do they get to see you making that, but they get to see me making the face that I would make at you if you did that.
Yeah. Inside baseball. I had heard this song a bunch of times. Like I think it had been on movie soundtracks and I'd heard it a handful of places. And then I learned very late in the game that Zigaboo, the drummer, who has like this really idiosyncratic groove style, like has his own, no pun intended, meter, was kind of the primary drumming influence for John Bonham. So I started listening to Zeppelin in an entirely different way when I would go listen to a whole Meters record and then listen to like Zepp 4. It recontextualized all that for me. And so I really like the drummers that can do the funk thing. And outside of James Brown and the JBs, like New Orleans funk has such its own thing. Like the city, it's such a gumbo of different styles. And similarly to this, thinking about it as an influence on Zeppelin, I think about Corrosion of Conformity, a rock band that I like a lot. For their last record before their long hiatus, In the Arms of God, they got Stanton Moore from Galactic, another New Orleans funk band, like kind of a jam band. And they gave him Sabbath, Deep Purple, and Zeppelin records. And they were like, you have your thing. We're trying to make this record. Let's see what the halfway point between those two things sounds like. And it's like shreddy meters to me.
Yeah.
Cause they play, it's like really notey. And I remember Dave Grohl talking about Bonham in an interview. And I think Bonham would have said the same thing about Zig. It's like bar to bar, you never know what he's going to do. Like if you try to do a play along with a meter song, you're going to get tripped up within the first 32, if not the first 16. So it's deceptively simple patterns and really interesting. And it just grooves like hell, man. It's such a rad song. It's super funky. If you had the walking physics of like the Grateful Dead animated character guy, where you're just like, whoa, you would be walking to Sissy Strut. Great jam. So then next, after that, complete mood shift. And I was stunned to learn that you didn't know this song. As interesting a blind spot as you could have as a music fan, because it is sort of guitar-y. It's lap steel.
Oh, for sure.
But another one of my super duper favorites, Sleepwalk by Santo and Johnny. And interestingly, the most commonly available version in Spotify is the version on the Hearts in Atlantis soundtrack, the Silence of the Lambs sequel, or maybe that's not even right, but it's Anthony Hopkins in the movie. I'm probably totally misremembering what the movie is even about, but Sleepwalk is like if Link Wray's Rumble is the most awake instrumental there is, this is the best like asleep one. Like if Rumble is fire, this is water for sure. It definitely has a very watery quality. They did a lot of like beachside sounding stuff. Santo and Johnny did like surf guitar, but dreamier. It's very pastoral, lap steel. But this is to me one of the best slow jam, like first dance at a wedding songs. Very classic. got an iconic American like burgers and milkshakes vibe. But I like stuff from the 50s, from like that era where the narrative is that nothing went wrong, you know, the era when allegedly America was great. I roll. But it gets glossed over as like diners and, you know, big cars and be true to your school and all that. I like the music that is very gentlemanly from that time. It has like kind of a dark undertone. It's got something a little mournful or a little evil. And Sleepwalk has a little bit of that tinge of something darker going on, the same way that my favorite doo-wop song, I Only Have Eyes for You by the Flamingos, does as well. So it's got some depth. I think a lot of that comes from like space and reverb and the way that it was recorded. But super, super vibey.